I moved in July and I cried 3 times because it was so hot. If you can live here in the winter and Oregon in the summer, do it.
We're going to talk today about basically all the reasons that drove us out of Oregon to Arizona. We lost our voice and we lost our freedom of expression.
Being told if we were essential or not.
It's like, oh my God, even the stress doesn't feel so stressful. People walking past the house saw us, coming in. It's like, oh, you bought the house. Welcome to the neighborhood.
People don't realize if you're going to move to Arizona, do it now. And I mean, if you have to move in the summer, do it at night.
I literally had to jump up off the seat because it was so damn hot. So my solution is pants. There's no perfect place.
Exactly.
Moving is not as scary as people think it is.
Right.
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of the Ask Ella Show. And I actually have somewhat of a surprise guest today. We, funny story, know each other from Oregon from probably around 10 years ago, if not more. We ran into each other here at my company event in Scottsdale back in the fall in the hallway on a break, and both literally reacted like, what the hell are you doing here? So Nicole, welcome. Nicole Greenspan with the EXP. And we're both runaways from the great state of Oregon. Well, it kind of been losing its luster, in as much as there is still a place on my heart for Oregon, and I'm sure Nicole's too.
It's a great place in the summer.
Yep, it's a great place in the summer to visit.
Yeah,
for a short time.
Yeah, I love Oregon. Yeah, Oregon's a great place. My parents are still there. My sister's there. My brother's there. It's a good place to go back. And it was a great place. It had that small town feeling.
For many,
in the 90s.
Many years.
Yeah, and so it was a great place to raise kids, and depending on where you were at. Yeah.
So we're going to talk today about basically all the reasons that drove us out of Oregon effectively, and what made up our minds to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah. I mean, you said it best the other day. We were political refugees, that we said. And I mean, I love Oregon. Oregon has a place in my heart. I have a lot of good memories. My first Dave Matthews concert. I mean, George and the Gorge. You can't beat the summers, the food in downtown Portland, the City of Roses, the parade. I mean, everything. It was great. The summers, you can't beat the summers. But
the beach, the coast.
Oh yeah, the coast. It's not a beach, it's the coast. Too cool. But you know what I'm talking. You know what I mean.
Exactly. It's the coast. It's the Central Oregon. It's Bend. It's Crater Lake. You name it. Those are all the positives. Those are all the things that we honestly miss.
Yeah. And by no means am I ever going to bash that great state. The only thing is it came to a point where, I don't know about you, we left because after COVID and all the changes with the school and the uncertainty if the kids are going to go back, are we going to do hybrid? They then decided to reduce the grading system. And I don't know. There were so many things as a parent I didn't like. The school boards, the way they were shutting us out when we wanted to go and have our voices heard. And if you didn't line up with their ideology or political beliefs, then you were considered the other side, right? And so it was just creating too much opposition and division. And that's what I didn't like.
Absolutely. It's like we lost our voice and we lost our freedom of expression. And while there is nothing wrong with a healthy political discourse and healthy discussions about life's issues and about how we view different things, we're not talking about discrimination. We're not talking about, excluding anybody. We're not talking about diminishing anybody's importance. But it felt like we lost the voice and the ability to speak up about how we felt about the schools. I also had kids in schools at the same time. I had one who basically got left out without a graduation. Exactly. I'm sorry, but a drive up, diploma pickup, where she essentially told me, Mom, there's no need for you to drive across town to come because we're just going to drive there, sit in the car and drive back.
Yeah. We saw our kids suffer in a way.
Right.
That was, we, as a business owner too, being censored, being told if we were essential or not. And thank God our industries were considered essential. But what about the people that couldn't?
That weren't.
Yeah, that couldn't
The
work.
quote unquote.
Yeah, and I think that was just too much local government overreach
Yep.
at the time. And I think if they could have done it differently, I really hope they would have. But like I said, you can't go back in time. So it was easy. That made it a very easy choice for us to leave Oregon.
Same here. I mean, well, you actually have a history with Arizona,
Right.
unlike myself. I haven't been to Arizona since 2000, probably 2006 and 2010, I want to say. And there was a long gap when I haven't been here, and then came here at the end of 2021 for a work conference.
Fell in love with the sun.
Fell in love with it. It wasn't even the sun.
Yeah.
It was smack dab in the middle of COVID. And
We were free.
we were free. It was like a different planet. We landed on a different planet. We could actually talk with people, and people actually talk to you without jumping the hell away from you, screaming insults at you, even outside in the fresh air.
Yeah.
And it was just a sense of normalcy that prompted us to start looking for a home essentially immediately. Granted, it took us about 6 months to find the home, but we found it, and we frankly haven't been happier. And the more we spend time here, the less we want to come back to Oregon, actually. Now it started out with, just, let's spend a few months here to get away. And now we're pretty much living here with the exception of the summer.
Right.
So
best of both worlds. If you can do it, if you can live here in the winter and Oregon in the summer, do it.
Absolutely. However, personal feel on that is that now few summers that we've gone back, it is a night and day. It's like Portland has lost the city itself, I guess, has lost its appeal and its pull. And it's lost that, yes, it's been cleaned up considerably to a point. But Portland used to be known as the foodie capital.
Yeah.
And now
City of Roses.
City of
beautiful.
Roses. But now even the foodie capital pieces, to me, is gone because
they're moving, right? Aren't they moving into Lake O or moving out of Portland?
the restaurants are moving out, either closed down during COVID or after COVID. Some even landmark restaurants have gone out of business. And frankly, with traffic, the common discussion around the kitchen table back in Portland was, and is every summer, is, there are some great restaurants on the east side, but while I live on the west side, do I want to spend 45 minutes in traffic to go eat out?
Yeah.
Even on the weekend, there is no telling what the traffic is going to be like.
Yeah.
And
or did you feel safe? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you.
Not 100% anymore.
Yeah. I remember walking downtown Portland. A friend of mine from Arizona came to visit, and we were, hey, let's take a ride. Let's ride some bikes. So we're riding our bikes around downtown Portland. And I remember walking by, unfortunately, there's a lot of homeless in Oregon and Portland, especially. And I remember we got chased by this man. We had to jump on our bikes, and I was like, oh
my God, that's scary.
Yeah. And I was like,
that is insane.
My gosh. And so she's like, I just want to go back to the condo as we're riding, because we don't have that here in Arizona. I mean, we do have homelessness. It's everywhere. Obviously.
Yeah. There's a degree, though, to where it's in your face or it's not.
Right.
And we're seeing, unfortunately, what I saw last summer in Portland was the homeless. Yes, like I said, the downtown got cleaned up, but the vibe is gone.
Yeah.
And by cleanup, I mean they've pushed them out to basically the 405 boundary and towards the outskirts of the city. The homeless that are being pushed out of downtown are being pushed into the suburbs too. And even in our neck of the woods in Cedar Mill, I'm now seeing, yes, there's not encampments per se, but I do see more and more homeless with carts, with stuff. Those neighborhoods is disconcerting, to say the best.
Right. And I feel like the city is very, they move it out. Like there's business owners that pay a lot of money. There's people that want to come in, and they don't want to be walking, they don't want to have to deal with that. So they're really good at moving that. In fact, there was a proposition that was passed where that if the city doesn't come clean it up or take care of it, and it impedes the business, then they wouldn't have to pay their property taxes.
That is amazing.
Let's talk about taxes. How much are they paying in taxes? That's one thing that I was excited to when I left Oregon, was the taxes.
I don't blame you. I mean, that's one of the reasons. So besides, the political refugee joke, not joke, besides the fact that it's a lot freer here,
right?
It's one of the things that we've noticed right out of the gate is how much we're paying in taxes in Oregon. And that's actually why so many people are migrating out of Portland specifically. Right. As close, the closest immigration is Vancouver, because there is no income tax in Washington. Granted, Arizona does have an income tax, but it's like negligible, 2.5%.
Yeah.
Whereas in Oregon, the bottom level of taxes, state taxes, we're not even touching feds because they're across the board, same for everybody.
Right.
But the state income tax is 7.99 or 7.9, whatever. But then you start adding crap up to it. Like as of 2 years ago, there's now a paid leave tax. I'm all for it. Again, that is something that should have been done a long time ago.
Right.
But that's 1% more. If you live in the Portland metro area and you make over a certain threshold AGI as a family, that's another 1.5 to 2.5% in taxes. And then it just goes up and up from there. So is there a limit? Like we've exceeded California.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. And there's no like reprieve. Like at least here in Arizona, we are a tourist state. So we have sales tax. So they come in and they help us. They pay the sales tax in each city, each county has their own. Each city does, and so it's definitely we're sharing it, in on it, and people come and help us. And with Oregon, you don't have that. It's just kind of passed on to the homeowners or the people who have. One thing that really, really was concerning was when the landlord started leaving. Me in the real estate business, I was like, oh my goodness, like what are we going to do with it when these mom and pops are going to leave because they felt like they couldn't do what they wanted to.
It's the whole anti-business and anti-capitalist and anti-landlord attitude and vibe and legislation as the result
right
of the attitude.
Well, the tenant advocacy there is
it's insane. And again, I get the need to provide some kind of a level of protection to the tenants. There
needs to be a balance, right?
But exactly. It needs to be a balance. Just because you own real estate doesn't make you a fat cat, first of all. Secondly, there is like no telling how many, as I call them, accidental landlords there really were who bought their first place, chose to keep it for many a reason, turned it over to a rental, and now they're stuck with it because the regulations prohibit them from basically selling it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
If you have a rental, your rights as a landlord are trampled on.
When you decided to move to Arizona, what was the biggest challenge you saw nobody wants to move, right?
Right.
Moving is horrible. So I moved in July and I cried 3 times because it was so hot. People don't realize if you're going to move to Arizona, do it now. And I mean, if you have to move in the summer, do it at night. What did you feel like? What was the biggest challenge in your exit moving?
I don't know that we've had a challenge per se yet. Yes, it does get hot in the summer. No, I haven't spent a full summer here yet. I've been in and out of here during the summer. But to me, unless your work takes you outside all day, the heat doesn't really, to me personally, doesn't matter because you're in the AC. I mean, the worst case scenario, you go to your car, you hop in the car, let the car run for a few minutes. Well, don't hop on the car. Let it run for a few minutes. Because yes, I've had to like
that seatbelt when that seatbelt comes up.
Oh my God, I did. Yes, I did get burned by a seatbelt. And yes, I had to like, leather seats are a bear. I literally had to like jump up off the seat because it was so damn hot. So my solution is pants. Shorts are a no-no
or
for me.
Just like make sure you cool off your car, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like here's the thing, and I always tell people, you go from in Oregon, right? You don't use an umbrella because you're not a true Oregonian, but you're going from your heated house, your heated car, to your heated job. You're obviously you have the rain gear and everything. It's kind of the same here in Arizona, right?
It's
you
just
go
a
from your
flip of it.
air-conditioned house, your air-conditioned car, your air-conditioned everything's air conditioning here, right?
Exactly.
It does get hot, like we're in the desert, right? It does get hot.
3 months?
Yeah.
At best?
3, 4. Yeah, this was a long one, but I mean, we have places to go to cool off. You have Payson, you have Flagstaff, you have the White Mountains, Show Low, which is 3 hours north of here. You have Rocky Point, which from my house in South Chandler was 3 hours door to door from my door to the resort. So you have
5.5 hours to San Diego.
Exactly. You have places to go to get out of the heat.
It's a trade-off, 3 months of heat versus 7 months of rain.
And gray dome, that gray dome when it's like
the gray
just
dome.
the gray dome. Like people don't realize the gray dome, right?
And that's actually what I was going to touch on. I don't know about you, but it's like 35 years in Oregon for me. I've never, ever, ever, ever paid attention to the gray, the rain. When you are working full time, or in our case, when we do what we do, mortgage and lending, or
So you're
sorry,
working on.
mortgage and home sales, for God's sakes, we work like crazy hours, 7 days a week. So when you're constantly focused on work, the weather doesn't seem to bother you.
Oh yeah.
But let me tell you, you don't know what you don't know.
Uh-huh.
And I did not know how much it actually affected me until our first winter here, waking up to the sun every day. And it's like, oh my God, even the stress doesn't feel so stressful. Like literally, it's as if, this huge weight have been lifted.
Yeah, that's not gloomy. You have the
It's
sun.
not gloomy, exactly.
You always, the sun is always shining here.
Yes.
I'm a native, born and raised here. So I moved to Oregon in 94. I was 17. And so that was a culture shock, right? So once we hit the Gray Dome and I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And not having the sun and being vitamin D, like deficient and you don't realize. And so coming home, for me was, being back in the sun and just realizing I need the sun. I need it. It helps. It does help with your mood. It helps with if you have any kind of
Your energy level.
yes, if your joints hurt, so a lot of people are looking for a second home here. They're wanting to keep their home in like Illinois and then move here for the summer. Again, getting away from the elements. As long as they can travel and they're fit to travel, they're going to do that.
We don't have, yes, we have the car show that comes to Portland every year. But the events that come here,
yeah, they're big.
are like, holy smokes. I've never seen anything that big.
Yeah.
Other than outside of Vegas, I think.
Yeah, it is. You're right. You're right. We do get a lot of the big attractions. So, we have all the football.
Well, Super Bowl was here last year.
Fiesta Bowl.
Right?
You have the Phoenix Suns. People don't think that we have ice rinks here. We do. We have a lot of people.
A ton of them. Yeah. Like surprisingly, I think there's more ice rinks here than in Portland.
Yeah, I believe. I think
which is
you're right.
crazy.
So if you were to make a list of the top 5 things to do first, if you're leaving Portland, leaving Oregon, and moving anywhere, what would be on the top?
I wish I would have known. Look at the taxes. Look at the property taxes. Look at the infrastructure. And that's something we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because the infrastructure means a lot. I mean, yes, there are cities like San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, where your earning potential is through the freaking roof, right? But your quality of life goes to shit. Because of how long it can take you. If you're not telecommuting, if you're not working remotely, your quality of life goes to literal shit because of how much time you have to spend in traffic. So infrastructure to me, now that I know what I'm comparing, is absolutely freaking huge. Because again, in Portland, it was taking me to travel the whopping 11 miles from my home to my office on a good day. And that's mostly actually like 9 miles out of 11 is freeway miles. That makes there is a point to that. Yeah. It was taking me anywhere from 25 minutes to damn near an hour, depending on time of day, to travel a measly 11 miles, 9 of which is freeway miles. Do the average of my speed, right? I mean, I might as well walk.
Yeah, or take a bike like everybody else.
Well, except for when it rains, or I have to log a computer back with me.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I feel like Arizona is always going to be under construction because people are moving here.
Right.
However, our roads...
You're starting off with infrastructure first.
Yes. I remember when I was, 6, 7, and we would travel from the North Valley to Tempe, and they were building all those stacks. And I just remember watching and couldn't believe it. And
it's complete awe, right? Yes. When you have like 4 stacks.
Yes.
And there's still freeway interchanges.
And they do it fast here. Yep. Like, I mean, I know people are like,
no, they do.
They do it fast. But I love the fact that we're on a grid, and the city is constantly building.
Again, Portland took away how much space for the bike lanes downtown Portland, again, in the city that rains 7 months out of a year, and left us with, 1 or 2 lanes on each street for the cars.
Yeah.
Or the buses.
I was surprised, though, when I did live there, that it was voted the most healthiest place to live because so many people walk, a lot of joggers, a lot of runners, a lot of bike riders in the rain.
That's a personal choice,
yeah,
clearly. But again, there's not every profession or everybody.
You don't live downtown. If you don't live downtown and you can't.
If you're out in the burbs, you're effectively screwed in terms of getting
True.
to and from. Used to be able to get across town in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Now it takes me 20 minutes at best to maybe get down to downtown from 26 from like Murray.
Right.
That's if I'm lucky. All the reasons that
Make Arizona so much
more attractive,
more desirable. I think it's an easy choice, especially if you're looking to want to have a place for families. We have a lot of communities out here that are great places for families. A lot of community pools. If you don't want to buy a pool or can't afford a pool at this time, we have a lot of parks within the communities. So, and I don't believe people realize how spread out Arizona is, how big Phoenix is. And so when people come
that
here,
was a shocker.
It is, right?
It's huge.
I feel like it is welcoming.
It has been very welcoming. And the people are, maybe because it's such a hodgepodge of people having moved in here from everywhere else, maybe it's a combination of that and the sun. But people are hella nicer. Like Oregon used to be some 20 years ago.
Oh, right? I remember moving there, and if you're from California, they did not like you.
Exactly. Well, that's because Californians came in waves and drove the prices up.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, I mean, like natives used to be friendly, and now we don't see that.
Yeah.
That art of, friendliness and be nice to your neighbor. People walking past the house saw us, coming in. It's like, oh, you bought the house. Welcome to the neighborhood. And it's just, it feels, I don't know. It just feels kind.
I truly believe what you say is the sun. It does. The sun, just being in a place where, I mean, summers, obviously, everybody's a little bit, on edge.
A little cranky.
A little cranky, yeah. But it's, it is what it is.
There's no perfect place.
Exactly.
There's no hurricanes. There is no tornadoes.
Yes.
We
have haboobs.
There's haboobs.
But we don't have them. I love the fact that you can be you leave your house in 3 hours, be up in the mountains, the Mogollon Rim. I don't believe people realize how beautiful those places are. We have high desert, and then you have, like you say, we can go to Rocky Point, we can go to San Diego. Yeah. And we have, Tombstone is amazing. Bisbee. I don't believe people realize these little towns that are still the historic.
And if you love shopping, Scottsdale Fashion Square. Oh,
oh no.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
But I mean, jokes aside, like I said, if you're looking at moving out of Oregon, there are options. And we've listed a whole bunch of reasons why we're not there anymore. At least, for me, to the most part.
Yeah.
This has become a new home. Arizona's home.
Yeah.
It is. And there are so many reasons why we found it so welcoming. Even though for many years we didn't even dream of or even think of for once about moving out of Oregon because it was home.
And I love the fact that when I did move there, I never felt like I had to get dressed up. In Arizona, everybody seems like they're so dressed up. I don't know if
we've noticed, but see, it's almost like anymore it's a little bit of a welcome change.
Right.
Because Portland has swung the other way where wearing pajamas in public and just dressing like a complete bum.
Right. Or maybe it's just because people are tan. They look like they're dressed up and all. But I feel like,
it's been a nice contrast for us where it's a lot less PJs and loungewear in public.
But so moving out, Portland, I would say, what did you think about, did you end up getting a moving truck or...
We ended up getting U-Box, which ended up being a hell of a lot cheaper than the pod. And you were talking about ABF being hella reasonable.
Oh, yeah. They just dropped off the truck. We loaded it. And then they came and picked it up. We texted them, hey, they give you a certain amount of square feet that you need. And you load it up. And then they put a piece of wood, a divider there, or a divider, for lack of a better word. And then they come and pick it up. And when... they delivered it here. They brought it, and it was too big for our neighborhood, but we ended up finding an amazing moving company that went and loaded it, wrapped all our stuff that wasn't wrapped because we loaded it, right? And then brought it to our house and unloaded it. And it was they were in and out. They did not price gouge. That made it easy. So,
I've heard that from a friend who actually moved from Portland to Georgia. They use the ABF too, so they sang it praises. Moving is not as scary as people think it is.
right.
That's the
Exactly.
bottom line. Like, don't be stuck. I think the biggest nugget that I've extracted out of my own experience is like, you may not even think about moving. Like, we didn't plan on it, didn't think on it, did not really, I guess, anticipate it. But once we got there, it's not as scary as people think it is. Like,
No.
do not constrain yourself to being
No.
miserable, I guess. There are better places.
Exactly. Ask people who've
Yep.
made the move. Happy to share information because we've done it, right? We've
We've
been
done it.
there, we've done it, and just whatever we can do to
And
help.
we know the right people.
Yes.
So we can hook you up. We can definitely hook you up with selling the home in Oregon, with landing on the ground here, taking you around, showing you the areas.
I think so. What would you say, like, if you were to tell somebody who's thinking of moving here, what would be the first thing you would, where would you go visit first?
I would say figure out where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
So drive the town,
Mm-hmm.
get a feel for different areas,
Yeah.
and talk to somebody local or a few locals who know the areas, who know what's where,
Yeah.
and find your vibe.
And I think too, a lot of it as real estate agents, we have lost putting people in our car.
Yep.
That putting people in your car and showing them your town. I love doing that. I love putting people in my car and taking them on a ride and letting them tour the area, letting them show them like this is Tempe. Now, and this is the other side of Tempe. Giving them the full, the full scope, the full understanding
If you don't do that, you miss, like I said, kind of figuring out what their vibe is, what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And here, well, first of all, getting to know them as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you get to know them as a person, same with lending, you may miss putting them in the right property or offering them the right location by not knowing who they are and what drives them.
Yeah, what's important to them.
Yep.
Right. I don't think people realize that. Yes, we're in the desert, but we have a wide range of different terrain.
We're in a desert, but we're not in a wilderness.
Exactly. There you go. That's a better way to put it.
Nicole, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Pleasure having you,
Man, I
and
love sitting
pleasure
down with you.
talking about our joint, common, whatever experience. Because, like I said, running into each other like we did was a sign.
Yes.
But I'm not alone, and there are so many others that we both know who are coming here from Portland for all the same reasons that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And they're loving it here. So come on down. We got you.
Yeah.
If you need an amazing agent, Nicole is it.
Oh, thank you.
Totally.
Yeah, same Ella. She just takes care of her people. I love working with Ella. We've gone through some great transactions and some crazy ones, but she cares for her people, and I love that. So
Thank you.
yeah, definitely,
Likewise.
definitely come and check us out. We'd love to take you on a tour.
Yep. This is our Oregon to Arizona installment, and there will be more.
Yes, there will.